I'm Dan Greenawalt. I'm the creative director on the Forza franchise.
Forza 6 seems to be you guys addressing a lot of what fans have been requesting from Forza 5 and stuff with weather.
Night, it's a giant
racing
game. It's actually the biggest game we've ever built.
Yeah, so how important was it to get those aspects right for Forza 6?
Well, you know, Forza 6 in many ways is a game that's 10 years in the making. This is a 10-year anniversary of our franchise, and we've built up a really big fan base that love our titles. For many years, Forza players have wanted night, they've wanted wet in our game, and the reason they want is because they know how we would do night and how we would do rain. It's not about just scaling down the friction a little bit, it's not about turning day a little bit darker, it's about recreating that experience that race car drivers talk about. Racing in the rain is tense, it's fearful, and the reason is because all the different friction types, they're not just diminished a little. It's different. We had to do the research. 150 surface types in the Nürburgring. Each one's got a different amount of friction, and they react differently to different tire compounds. We went and researched how puddles and hydroplaning works, wider tires, tire treads, all of that, and recreated it. And the end result is that tension. Same thing with night. Cold tracks, the outside is dark, it creates claustrophobia. So this is really about creating an incredible racing experience. And when you go through the career, 70 plus hours, we take you on a tour of the over 26 environments, including going through wet and going through night. You experience the 450 cars. I mean, this is just an epic, massive game.
How has Drivatar evolved then since Forza 5 and Forza Horizon 2?
I love the Drivatar system. It changes racing. I mean, when is the last time that a racing game's AI created that water cooler talk where you show up at work the next day or at school and you're like, oh, I was racing against your Drivatar last night and he ran into me or he passed me really well. That's something that's really new in gaming. And it was cool to have that as part of the game. Now, first thing was we took all the Drivatars from 5 and all the Drivatars from Horizon 2 and we just imported them directly into 6. So if you raced either of those games, your Drivatar's already racing in 6. Millions of Drivatars. They immediately started learning about rain, avoiding puddles, changing their line. It was really cool to see how the system just learns and evolves and changes. Now, we got feedback from our players that some people are looking for a more professional style of single player, in their campaign. So we added an override. When you're playing in the single player, you can have your friends' Drivatars and you can do the Drivatar settings, but then you can flip over a switch to change their professionalism. So when your friend's Drivatar thinks about hitting you, because that's what the friend trained it to do, we say, no, don't do that, and it avoids it. I personally like playing against the Drivatars kind of in their natural state. It creates more of that water cooler talk the next day, and that's what I really value in the system. Online
leagues as well is a big thing for Forza 6. Can you just tell us kind of an overview of that?
Players were super excited at E3 when we announced 24-car single-player and multiplayer. Forza Motorsport 5 had 16-player multiplayer, so that's 50% more. It's a really big field. But honestly, what a multiplayer player is looking for is kind of that perfect social race. People who race like them, who speak like them, who think like them. So if they're a rubbing type of racer, they want people that are going to rub and push back. And if they're a clean racer, they want people who are clean. And you don't want to be the fastest guy in a group. You don't want to be the slowest guy in a group. Well, that creates a problem. How do you get 24 people like you ready the moment you go? You don't want to wait around for 3 hours for people to show up. Leagues is our answer to that. So first, we put people into categories, divisions, based on their speed and their professionalism. And then we create leagues that actually open and close based on the peak play hours in your region and your language. That allows you to get people together to get 24-car multiplayer fast, and the quality of service goes way up. Now, we still have hoppers, of course, and we have private lobbies as well, but this system actually makes the most out of 24-car multiplayer so that you can have the type of racing that you dream about when you get into a race like Forza.
You have such an active community, you say. What's the most common feedback that you get from that community about Forza?
So common feedback we got, like the Drivatar thing. I already mentioned that. There's a setting to change that up. Things like 24-car multiplayer, but also having less wrecks in the first corner. So we actually invested in ways of grouping players in the starting grid so there are less wrecks there. Longer races in the career, endurance races in the career, more strategy in the career, more linear aspect of the career, the ability to play all 450 cars in all 26 environments from the beginning in split screen. having a tracklist system in free play. These are all things that came out of talking to our community, but they speak to different people. If you're a multiplayer, you don't really care about the free player side. If you're a career player, you don't necessarily care about the multiplayer stuff. So it's about building this global group that don't agree with each other, but they agree they love cars and they agree they love games. And that's the heart of Forza.
I mean, dispensing that aspect that they all love cars and agree on stuff, does it still feel like you're performing a bit of a balancing act with what the features you're putting into the game each time?
To us, it doesn't feel like a balancing act. We love our community, we want to bring them together, but this is a massive team, and what that allows us to do is actually plan our shot. We come up with innovation. Some of the innovation takes multiple years to bring in, and so by starting the game 2.5 years before we ship it, we're able to plan what we want to deliver, and we deliver it. So we've gotten very good at not having this be an exercise in just throw things at the wall and then cut some stuff. By having 2 world-class teams, we can really say, this is the experience we want to deliver here. Let's go research night, let's go research rain. And it's not something maybe we'll get done. We're gonna experience it this way. I love that about working on this team, having really smart people I can come to work with every day that are passionate, but also professional. We really want to build an experience that moves this whole genre forward. And that allows us to look beyond competition and things like that and look more about, hey, we're part of this community, we race. What's going to be the future of racing? Let's define that now.
You've obviously got a lot of cool new features and content in Forza 6. Do you have a personal feature list in your head for subsequent games?
Yeah. So, look, I'm the creative director on this franchise, and that puts me in a position where I get to work with these incredibly passionate, very smart people, be it Playground Games or Turn 10. We hear features from our community all the time. And so there's features that are just kind of a known quantity. But to me, the things that are exciting is when I look out and I think, we don't have the technology to do this yet. And I mentioned research a few times. Coming up with research projects that we can just go send our team to do, some of these things take 3 or 4 years actually. And you start the research to get the technology done. So for me, there's the vision of the experience, but sometimes you gotta wait for the technology to catch up. And yes, it does actually make it hard coming to these events, because I'm often asked about the game we're shipping right now, where my head is actually looking at where are all the places we could go 5 years, 10 years from now. I mean, this is a 10-year anniversary of the series, and there are features like Drivatar that came in Forza 5. We were waiting for that cloud-powered AI. That was something we had talked about years before, but there was no way the technology was in place. So it took a while for that to come to fruition. It's not that we're actually waiting to develop the feature. We don't even know how to get it done. So you've got to work with these external teams like research to say, is there a new way? Would machine learning do this? How's this get done?
That in mind then, what does the prospect of Forza 10, how does that does that scare you or excite you? The future, the next 10 years, like you say, of Forza?
The 2 things that excite me the most about the job are the game we're making right now and seeing players play it. And you go down to the show floor at Gamescom, players are having a blast. They're really enjoying it, and that goes right to that vision, gaming culture and car culture, and making that change. So I love that. But yes, the future is already very exciting to me as well. But that's not about a product. It's not like Forza number this or Forza number that. It's more about an experience, and I don't know when we'll be able to deliver it, because it's going to take the right concepting and prototyping and incubation to make all of those things. Both of those parts I really found awesome. I mean, I love that part of my job.
How do you feel looking back at past Forzas then? Do you look at them and think, oh, I wish we'd done it this way, I wish we'd done it that way, or are you always kind of looking ahead?
I love the games we've made. Mostly because I love the community we've built, and we wouldn't have the community we have without the learning. Now, there are certain features we've done that we did it this way and we found out, oh, we should have changed it. So like Forza Motorsport 5, we did 17, 18 content updates to that game. We changed the economy, we changed other things. We respond to what we're seeing. And I don't tend to regret, I tend to just see it as learning and let's move forward. And then we apply it to our next game, we always make it stronger. Forza Motorsport 6 ships September 15th and September 18th in Europe.